You're staring at a blank screen. Your deadline is tomorrow. Your heart is racing. Your hands are shaking. And you know you should start, but you can't. So you do what you always do. You scroll, you watch videos, you convince yourself you'll do it later. But here's the truth that nobody tells you. You're not lazy, you're not unmotivated, you're actually terrified. And in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why your brain is sabotaging you. And more importantly, I'm going to show you how to stop it. Before we go any further, I want you to think about something. How many times have you called yourself lazy? How many times have you said, I'm just unmotivated? I have no discipline. I'm broken? I used to say those things to myself every single day. Every single day. I would sit at my desk with a massive project in front of me, a project I wanted to do, a project that was important to me, and I would freeze, completely freeze. My heart would start pounding, my chest would get tight, and this voice in my head would whisper, you can't do this. You're going to fail. Why even try? So I would escape. I would open YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, anything to make the feeling go away. And then the guilt would hit, that crushing, suffocating guilt. The voice saying, you're so lazy. Everyone else can do this. What's wrong with you? For years, I thought I was broken, but then I learned something that completely changed everything. Procrastination isn't laziness. Procrastination is your nervous system screaming for help, and once you understand that, everything changes. Let me tell you what procrastination actually is, and I want you to really listen to this, because this might be the most important thing you hear all week. Procrastination is not about being lazy. Procrastination is not about lacking motivation. Procrastination is not about having bad time management. Procrastination is emotion regulation. Let me say that again. Procrastination is emotion regulation. You see, when you're anxious, your brain is flooded with uncomfortable emotions. Fear, doubt, uncertainty. That tight, suffocating feeling in your chest. And your brain's job is to protect you. So what does it do? It finds an escape route. Any escape route. It doesn't matter if it's productive. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. Your brain just needs to make the uncomfortable feeling go away. Now. So you reach for your phone. You start scrolling. You watch videos. You clean your room. You reorganize your desk for the 5th time today. Suddenly, that tight feeling in your chest loosens. Just a little. Your anxiety drops. And your brain learns, okay, so when I feel scared, I can make it go away by doing this. And it works. It works so well that you do it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next week, until procrastination becomes your default response to anxiety. But here's where it gets really cruel. The relief you get from procrastinating is short-lived, because even as you're scrolling, even as you're distracting yourself, your anxiety doesn't really go away. It just hides. It waits in the background. And every single second that passes, every single minute that ticks by, you know that your deadline is getting closer. You know that you still have to do the work. And that knowledge, it makes the anxiety worse. So the relief you got from procrastinating, it wears off fast. Now you're anxious and guilty. Anxious because your deadline is approaching, guilty because you wasted time. And this guilt, this shame, it creates even more anxiety, which makes you want to escape even more. And suddenly you're trapped in a cycle that spins faster and faster until you're so overwhelmed that you either panic and throw something together last minute that you're not proud of, or B, give up completely and convince yourself you don't care anyway. Both options hurt. Both options leave you feeling broken and ashamed. And the worst part? You blame yourself. You call yourself lazy. You tell yourself there's something wrong with you. But that's not the truth. The truth is, your nervous system is scared. Now let me explain what's actually happening in your brain when you're anxious. Because once you understand this, you're going to realize that you're not broken at all, perfectly normal. When you're anxious about a task, a few things happen in your brain. First, your amygdala activates. That's the part of your brain that detects threat. And right now, your brain is perceiving this task as a threat. Not a logical threat, not a real physical danger, but an emotional threat. A threat to your sense of self-worth, a threat to your identity, a threat to how you see yourself. Because if you fail at this task, what does that mean about you? Are you not smart enough? Are you not capable? Are you not worthy? Your brain is asking these questions. And the fear of the answer, it's overwhelming. So your body goes into fight, flight, or freeze mode. And in most cases, when you're facing a task that creates anxiety, you go into freeze mode. Your nervous system literally shuts down. It's like your brain is saying, if I don't move, if I don't try, then I can't fail. And if I can't fail, then my sense of self stays safe. But you can't actually freeze forever. So you do the only other thing your brain can do. You flee. You escape the situation. You distract yourself with something that feels safe. And that's when procrastination happens. Now here's something really important. This isn't a character flaw. This is a nervous system response. Your nervous system is trying to protect you. It's just doing it in a way that, ironically, creates more problems. Because procrastination doesn't actually make you safe. It just delays the inevitable. And the delay, the guilt, the mounting anxiety, it actually makes everything worse. But your nervous system doesn't know that yet, because it's been trained over and over and over again. Think about when this started for you. Maybe it was a test in middle school where you froze and did poorly. And ever since then, tests have made you anxious. Or maybe it was a presentation in front of the class. And the humiliation you felt, it made you terrified of being judged. Or maybe it was a project that didn't turn out the way you wanted. And now, every time you start a project, your brain is scared it won't be good enough. Whatever it was, your brain learned. Tasks equals danger. And now, years later, that learned response is automatic. You don't even think about it. You just feel the anxiety. And you flee. It's not laziness. It's not weakness. It's just what your nervous system learned to do. But here's the beautiful part. If your nervous system learned to respond this way, then your nervous system can unlearn it. But first, you need to understand something else. There's something I want to talk about that nobody talks about, and that's the shame that comes with procrastination. Because procrastination doesn't just hurt you in terms of your work or your deadlines, it hurts you emotionally. Every time you procrastinate, there's a voice in your head that gets louder. A voice that says, you're lazy, you're incompetent, you're broken. And you believe that voice. I mean, you're procrastinating again, right? So clearly something is wrong with you. This is what I call the shame cycle. It works like this. You get anxious about a task. You procrastinate to escape the anxiety. You feel guilt and shame about procrastinating. The shame and guilt create more anxiety. Now you're even more anxious than you were before. So you procrastinate again to escape the new anxiety. And the cycle spins faster. And every time it spins, you feel worse about yourself. Until you reach a point where your self-worth is so low that you genuinely don't believe you can succeed at anything. You start to think, this is just who I am. I'm a procrastinator, I'm lazy, I'm broken. And that belief, it becomes a prison. Because now, you're not just fighting anxiety, you're fighting against a fixed identity, a belief about who you are, and that's so much harder to overcome. I know this because I lived in that prison for years. I genuinely believed I was broken. I believed that no amount of motivation or willpower could help me. I believed that everyone else had something I didn't have, that secret ingredient that made them capable, and I didn't have it. But I was wrong. Everyone experiences anxiety. Everyone gets scared before doing difficult things. The difference isn't that some people are lazy and some aren't. The difference is that some people have learned how to move through their anxiety instead of away from it. And that's a skill. That's something you can learn right now. I remember the exact moment everything changed for me. I was sitting at my desk, my laptop was open, and I had a deadline that was literally hours away. I hadn't started. Not because I was lazy, but because I was terrified. I was terrified that whatever I created wouldn't be good enough, that people would judge it, judge me. And in that moment, I felt something shift inside me. It was like I suddenly realized something obvious that I'd been missing the whole time. I wasn't afraid of the work. I was afraid of what the work said about me. And as soon as I realized that, as soon as I separated the task from my sense of self-worth, everything changed. Because now I could ask myself a different question. Not, will this be good enough? Which is really asking, am I good enough? But can I do this imperfectly and still be okay? And the answer was yes. Yes, I could write something that wasn't perfect. Yes, I could make a mistake. Yes, I could fail at this specific task and still be a worthy human being. That realization, it broke the cycle. Because now, when I started to procrastinate, I could catch myself. I could notice the anxiety. I could acknowledge it. And I could say, okay, I'm scared. That's normal. But I'm going to do this anyway. And each time I did that, each time I moved through the anxiety instead of away from it, my nervous system learned something new. It learned, okay, so facing the anxiety doesn't actually kill me. I can survive it. I can do the hard thing and still be okay. And the more times I proved that to my nervous system, the less anxious I became. The procrastination started to fade, not because I became magically more motivated, but because my nervous system finally learned that the threat it perceived wasn't actually a real threat. So here's what I want you to take away from this. If you procrastinate when you're anxious, you're not lazy, you're not broken, you're not unmotivated. You're actually having a very normal, very human response to fear. And the fact that you're feeling that fear means you care. You care about doing good work. You care about succeeding. You care about who you are. And that's not a weakness. That's actually your greatest strength. The only thing you need to learn is how to let that care drive you forward instead of paralyze you. And that skill, that's something you can develop, starting right now. So the next time you feel anxious about a task, instead of judging yourself for procrastinating, I want you to pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Because once you answer that question, you'll understand that the thing you're running from isn't actually as scary as the shame you're running toward. And that shift in perspective, that's the moment everything changes. You're not lazy, you're just learning, and that's more than enough.